Well, Sony is officially talking about the PlayStation 6 and people are pissed. A lot of the internet is kind of annoyed because it does feel like this console generation has been so incredibly different. Like, no matter what system you own or whether you play on PC or Switch or whatever, it does feel like we have entered this very strange time of the console wars because historically, even going all the way back, thinking about the Super Nintendo versus the Sega Genesis, or even the early times of like GameCube versus Xbox versus PlayStation 2, a big thing that sold stuff wasn't just the online play or how much you liked the controllers, it was the basic idea of exclusives. But for the entirety of the PlayStation 5 generation, it feels like Sony's output has gotten so incredibly small. And a lot of people have started to say, I don't want the PlayStation 6. So I want to try to look at the quotes that Sony put out last night because some of them are being taken out of context. They're still bad, but Sony is trying to promise we have another big game coming. In fact, Sony has now promised they want to release a big AAA single-player game every single year from now on. Can they keep that promise? I don't know. Part of my distrust of PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo is the fact that I feel like a lot of these companies have gotten to this space where it feels like they've forgotten the secret sauce of good output. Like, I'm not going to pretend that Sony has no games. Obviously, I've bought and played a lot of stuff on my PlayStation 5. Gran Turismo, God of War, Spider-Man, Ratchet & Clank. There has been a lot of good stuff, but it does feel like when it comes to actually selling hardware, Sony doesn't need to make games. Like, by their own financial reports, the PlayStation 5 is selling higher than any PlayStation console ever. It has more people buying more microtransactions, more games. Sony is making more tens of billions of dollars than they ever have for pretty much zero work. So let me take a look at the quotes. Let me see what's making people so mad and why I feel like the promises that PlayStation is making sound good, but right now they feel kind of empty. Let's get into it. Hi, I am DreamcastGuy. If you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now here's the initial quote that I've noticed a lot of people getting real annoyed about. PlayStation CEO says that PlayStation 6 is top of my mind right now. Now if you look at the replies, literally all of it is like, bro, the PlayStation 5 does not have any games. They don't have a good crop of titles for PlayStation 5. It's too early. What games are they going to put on it? Literally, all the replies are, games are the bottom of your mind. It's cool. I guess they'll wait to make a console and Xbox will make all the games. Weird world in 2025. Now, this is a very common sentiment. A lot of people are like, okay, hopefully the PlayStation 6 is backwards compatible so I can finally play all my PlayStation 5 games. This is the thing. PlayStation 5 Pro came out in November. How much can games even utilize it? So, historically, this has happened in the past, where PlayStation is typically the first to come out and straight up say, we're working on the next system. They did this during the PlayStation 2 era. Very early on, they started dropping hints about the PlayStation 3. During PlayStation 3, they started dropping hints of the PlayStation 4. I'm not super surprised that they're sort of alluding to this, but the further context of it, it sounds kind of vapid. Top of my mind. While we cannot share further details at this stage, the future of the platform is top of my mind. We're committed to exploring a new and enhanced way for players to engage with our content and services. Now, this is your typical empty PR speak, which I very much don't like, but I almost think there's something extra to this, which is that I am still a believer, and I could be 100% wrong. I've made this prediction. I think PlayStation 6 is the end. A lot of people disagree. A lot of people get mad when I say this. I think PlayStation 6 is going to be the very, very last console of PlayStation anyway. It's just that graphics are getting so photorealistic, resolution is getting so clean, load times are so tiny. It does feel like we're starting to bump against that wall of technological ability. Whatever systems come after this, I don't think they're going to be numbered PlayStations, but the full quotes of what they're talking about here sounds a bit strange. And it sounds like, in a lot of ways, I think they're basically saying, we have killed Xbox, so we're no longer even interested in competing in hardware against Xbox. Like, they basically say that we don't care about streaming. It basically sounds like they're saying they don't really care about how much Xbox Cloud is really burning up the charts. But Here's the thing that really got me the most. PlayStation will continue its current strategy of releasing tentpole single-player narrative games on PlayStation consoles first and then expanded to PC later, basically saying they're going to keep doing what they're currently doing, which is putting games on PC, but down the line. Here's the thing that got me the most excited, but is also the most difficult for me to believe. PlayStation is committed to releasing at least one AAA high-quality tentpole single-player game every single year. They have not been sticking to this at all. If they're going to stick to this now, this has to have been in the works for years and years and years. The biggest problem right now with this super long dev time of everything is the fact that you can't just snap your fingers and it goes. You can't just start making games because it takes 4, 5, 6 years to put a game out now. If you want to start putting out a game every single year, they already have to have been in dev when the PlayStation 5 is on store shelves. PlayStation continues to be a platform, believe platform competition is good and important and is focused on growing a broad portfolio of games. Oh man. Here's the thing that a lot of people have been making fun of. We're continuing to invest in live service games with Helldivers 2, being an example of our success when we get things right. We have learned many challenges, including Concord. We have reconstructed the development and review process of our games. We will not make the same mistake twice. They released a very funny chart of how much they think their live service games build a foundation and strengthen capabilities. They're still claiming that Marathon is coming out this year, fiscal year 2025. To me, it's funny that they're like, here's our successful live service games, and here's our stuff that we hope doesn't get insta-canceled. Sony continues to expand. Sony continues to sell systems. Sony continues to be such a dominant market force. But I have to admit that lately, I've been playing some Nintendo games with my friends. Last night, I was up till literally 1 a.m. playing a bunch of Splatoon with my friends on Nintendo Switch. And we were talking about how there are people that game a lot. They game on PC. They game on Nintendo Switch a ton. This is to my friends in the military. And I was talking to them, why don't y'all have PlayStation 5s? Why don't you have Xboxes? Why specifically Nintendo? And they said, it's because there's exclusives. There's constant exclusives. And I have to admit that I can't exactly blame them that you don't have to like all the Nintendo output. I definitely criticize the hell out of Nintendo. I feel like a lot of times their controllers sometimes don't feel the best. I feel like now especially the prices are too damn high. But it does feel like the reason the original Nintendo Switch sold 150 million consoles is because you get Xenoblade, you get weird stuff, you get exclusives for at least a time like Octopath Traveler. You get so many games that are not just good, but unique. There's big budget, there's AAA, there's AA, and they're always coming out. When it comes to PlayStation, especially the PS5, it's cool that I can play so many third-party games on my PlayStation 5, and they look fantastic. My PS5 Pro makes stuff look incredibly good. But if they plan on releasing this in 2027 or 2028, the talking point isn't going to be, oh boy, I'm excited to buy the PlayStation 6. The talking point is going to be, is Sony going to make games for the PlayStation 6? But these have just been the off-the-cuff thoughts. How do you feel about PlayStation? How do you feel about the PS5? And specifically, how do you feel about the PlayStation 6? I don't think this is a good idea. But it's such a weird circumstance. Do we do another 8-year console generation like we had with the PlayStation 3? Or do we just start the PlayStation 6 and hope frickin' games are made? Ugh, what a dumpster fire. Thanks for watching. If you could, please give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.